Your opinion, though quite often valid, is not always valid. And sometimes it's best for you to just say, not going to talk, I'm going to let you guys work it out, and then I'm good.
For you, what is the part of the job that brings the greatest pleasure?
Besides a paycheck.
You're right.
The creation of the temp and getting to a point where they really like what's happening, and I've been able to create that influence.
You've done a lot of television, you've done feature films. What are the differences between working in the two different mediums?
In television, for the most part, I don't need to temp the stuff because we are usually working on 3 episodes at a time because of having to produce a new episode every week. It's a much faster paced situation because, as I said, we're dubbing a new episode every week. With features, it's a little bit more elongated because those can take months to do.
You and I have worked together, and where we met a little bit doing some of these films live in concert at the Hollywood Bowl. And I'm curious, what's your job like when you go to do something like that, a concert?
It's similar, but very different. In that case, most of what I'm involved with is creating the click tracks and the conductor video for the conductor to be able to have the orchestra play in sync live with the original picture and where the original score was. So I have to go through the project with the scores and with the music from the film and go through and put a click, which is basically just like a metronome sound. In some films, like Little Mermaid, those were not done to a click originally. So they're very free and flowing. So the click is going to be all over the place. Other more modern projects, like I did Rocket Man Live, the Elton John story, was recorded to a click, even though it was a variable click. So it's a little easier that way. Then also on screen, the conductor has streamers or lines which go across the stream or across the screen so that they know when certain events are happening, when tempo changes happen. So I have to place all of those in there so they have a visual indication of what's happening. Then I also deal with the audio for the film and the picture. In a case such as Little Mermaid or Coco, we break the film up into segments with live performance in between. So I have to cut the film and the audio, create the fade in, fade out sections for each one of those that are going to be projected, and then make sure that the separated dialogue track and sound effects track all have what they need from the original film. And in some cases, adding additional sound effects if for some reason there's a visual that we have created on the proscenium that needs a special sound or something like that, I'll put those in.
Now, I know from working with you on some of these how crunched the deadline can get. And I know from projects we've done, one of our most recent ones, the decision to double the length of the song was finalized the day before the performance.
Right.
And remember, you and I were in a custodian's closet helping to figure out how to help the singer. Is that kind of a deadline crunch unique to just the live concerts, or does that happen in all of it, in films and television for you with your projects?
It pretty much happens in all things. I always say if it weren't for the last minute, nothing would ever get done.
Your story's interesting because what you graduated with was a music education degree. You did a little of that. You came to Burbank eventually to be a film composer, and then ended up becoming a highly successful music editor. So I have a two-part question here. One is, if somebody specifically wanted to do music editing, what kind of, simple advice do you have for them? And then part two is, with your journey kind of starting in one direction, still being within the industry, but ending someplace that you probably never had even imagined about when you were back in college, what advice would you have to somebody who they want to get into the industry, and maybe they have certain ideas and visions, but just general advice for them going into the industry?
I'll start with the second half first. As happened to me when I called the company and took whatever was available, people who want to get into this industry need to know that they are probably going to have to work their way up and be willing to do that. Some people feel like, I've gotten an education at X, Y, or Z school, I'm qualified, world, here I am, hire me. Well, it doesn't necessarily work that way. So you've got to be willing to do whatever it takes and open up and be able to step through any door that happens to open as a way to get there. And you don't necessarily know exactly what your path is going to be. Mine wanted to be a composer, have done some composing, have some credits as well, and some stuff that's been in projects, but found that music editing was the better fit for me. There are people who I know of who, again, want to be composers, found that they were fantastic orchestrators and have spent the rest of their life orchestrating other people's music and are perfectly fine with it. That sort of stuff, because that's where their strength lies. So be willing to do whatever it takes. What to do to become a music editor? I think it's best to know all about the post-production process. It was very helpful for me to know dialogue editing and to know sound editing and to know what other people were doing in the process and where my job as a music editor fit into that. Know a lot about music, listen to a lot of things. You may not necessarily love all kinds of music, but be at least somewhat familiar with it and know the technical stuff. Learn Pro Tools, because that is the state of the art. Take Pro Tools classes, know how to do it. Know how to work fast, because fast but good. Become very well skilled. And because when you're sitting on a dub stage and somebody says, I need this fixed, you need to already be thinking about how to do that before you even touch the keyboard.
I've got to say three things that are on my list as to why I enjoy working with you. Number one, you're just enjoyable. But the second thing is you work fast. And the third thing is I've never, in any scenario we've been in, I've never felt stress coming from you. Maybe you've had stress, but I don't feel it.
And I appreciate that. People who want to do this job, they need to learn to be calm, be methodical, figure out, and help let everybody else know in the room, you got this covered. And something else that the guy who owned Segway taught me very early on was, make yourself a part of the process. Don't just sort of do your job and stand off, and don't do that. Get involved, go to lunch with them if you're in the cutting room, or talk and have coffee, or bring donuts to the dubbing stage one day or something like that. But at the same time, he said, know when to speak up and know when to shut up.
Right.
Because your opinion, though quite often valid, is not always valid. And sometimes it's best for you to just say, not going to talk, I'm going to let you guys work it out, and then I'm good.
If you're driving along the coast on a beautiful sunny day, convertible top down, nowhere to be, what's playing on the radio?
Pop music from the late 70s, early 80s. Things like Toto and Earth, Wind and Fire and Kenny Loggins and that kind of stuff. Just good, fun music.
What sound or noise do you love?
My children's laughter.
What sound or noise do you hate?
Nails on a chalkboard and people complaining too much.
Yeah. If music were erased from the face of the earth and there was no opportunity to do anything related to music, what other profession would you choose?
Film restoration, film and television restoration, archiving, saving, the product.
When you die, what would you like your tombstone to read?
He was kind and funny.
Yeah. Michael, thank you so much for joining me today. This has been great. I really enjoyed it, and just thank you for being willing to do this.
Thank you. I appreciate you having me, and it's always a great time working with you and talking with you, and I hope once the craziness all here is finished up, we'll have many more live projects in the future.
I hope so as well. And thank you to all of you for watching. Until next time, have a good day. Goodbye.
Thank you for watching. For more great videos, subscribe to the Maestro Fox YouTube channel. To learn more about the Maestro, visit StephenAllenFox.com.